Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat. Today is Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2014. I am having a family gathering today since it is Easter, so I'm a little short on time, but I did watch all of Y&R this week, and I thought I would just lay down some quick audio notes for you guys. The fashion show was explosive. Where we left off last Friday, Chloe and Chelsea are ready to rip each other's throats out. I don't even know who I think would win in a fight between those two, but I felt like Chelsea was throwing down pretty good. It almost looked like Chloe was about to get her ass beat. When Rick and Caroline Forrester show up from The Bold and the Beautiful, love The Bold and the Beautiful crossover, and everyone starts scrambling to save face. These are the Forresters. They are of the legendary Forrester fashion house, and so the smaller time fashion or the newbie fashion peeps in Genoa City are trying to impress the Forresters. So they have to come up with this lame excuse to cover up the fact that their lead designers are having a cat fight on top of each other, practically with fur flying. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Rick and Caroline's stay. I have been watching The Bold and the Beautiful for about 2 years steadily now, and I also watched it back in the early 2000s. So I do always enjoy a crossover. I especially love the actress who plays Caroline. I never thought she was special at all until just probably within the last 6 months. Her character is so quirky and so fun. She is a reason right there to start watching The Bold and the Beautiful. And if anybody kind of picked up on the brief little scene later on in the show between Caroline and Noah, if you're aware, those two actors are involved in real life. I don't think they're married, but they are having a child together. She's pregnant. She's starting to show even. I noticed when I was watching The Bold and the Beautiful just a couple episodes back, you can kind of see she's starting to have her baby bump, and I guess Y&R intentionally wrote them a scene together. Caroline goes to the coffee house and bumps into Noah, and they were flirty. Caroline in her character is married to Rick, and Noah is dating Courtney, but there was a little chemistry between them, obviously, that we were able to see on screen. I thought it was quite a nice scene. It was quite a nice little Easter egg, shall we call it, for us to enjoy. I can't remember if it was Noah. I guess it was Noah. Courtney had come in and sort of seen him talking to Caroline and was maybe just a touch on the jealous side. And she said, well, who was that? And Noah said, someone I knew in another life. She seemed like someone I knew in another life. I just enjoyed it. I thought it was special. Oh, but back to Genoa City. The girls are able to, Chelsea and Chloe are able to break up the fight and go on with the fashion show. I thought it was interesting that Rick Forrester cornered Chelsea a little bit and asked her if she might be interested in taking a job at Forrester, which of course Chloe overheard and was not happy about, because Chelsea says, maybe that's something I would consider doing on the side. I don't need to tell my partner or Jabot or anybody else about it. Maybe this is something I can just have on my own. Chloe overhears that and she is enraged. This is just yet another thing that these two girls are going to go head to head about. This is another thing that Chelsea is hiding from her, in Chloe's mind anyway. So, oh gosh, it was interesting. After Chloe overheard that, she sort of calmed down. I thought she was going to be mad and upset, but she sort of calmed down and had this moment with Chelsea where they started sort of bonding and sort of apologizing, and this crazy backstage manager comes up to them and starts to scold them. Now, I believe it was Gary who called into my voicemail and said that that stage manager was someone from another soap. I don't know who she was. I didn't recognize her at all, but the stage manager was like sort of being how Chloe was last week, getting in, taking charge, kicking butt, taking names, not taking crap from anyone, insisting that everyone meet their deadline. She is the boss of the show and you're gonna do what she says. And it was a funny moment in the midst of all this tension between Chloe and Chelsea where the stage manager really laid into the two girls and said, basically like they were schoolgirls and she needed to scold them. I don't know what shenanigans you guys are up to. I heard about your little fight, but I am not having it. You guys are not going to do that at my fashion show. So she puts them in check, and being, I guess, on the outside with her made Chloe and Chelsea bond a little bit. Just, kind of giggling like, oh my gosh, we just got in trouble as grown adults. And so they sort of giggle and sort of have a makeup moment, which of course, was way too good to last. I thought it was going to be a healing moment. I thought, okay, well, good. They got that out of their system. We can move on with the show. But oh no. Oh no. They are preparing for the big walk down the runway, and Chelsea has this big, smashing, blazing red, important dress that is going to wrap up, be the finale of the fashion show. And she's so excited. It looks beautiful. Esmeralda's going to wear it. Chelsea is a little bit scatterbrained, so Chloe offers to take the dress, to take it to Esmeralda, the big finale. And rather than doing that, Chloe takes the dress off into a little corner and she cuts that dress up with scissors. Snip, 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 snip. I could not believe my eyes. Did you see Chloe's face when she was cutting up that dress? She cut it up with a smile on her face. I mean, she's sabotaging her own business at this point, but it's really more about getting back at Chelsea. How dare she go on to be happy in her life? She's lost her husband, but what about me? And what about what I'm going through? Why is it that Chelsea gets to get job offers from the Forester and here I am with nothing left to lose? So she just chops that dress up like it's nothing. She butchers it. And when it comes time for Chelsea to find the dress, I can't remember. I don't remember if it was Esmeralda who found it or Chelsea who found it. But Chelsea takes one look at the dress, realizes it's been sabotaged, and she knew immediately who did it. It was so horrible, you guys. I mean, Chloe standing off in the corner, I think waiting to see the look on Chelsea's face when she finds out that the dress has been slashed. She was glad. It was like Chloe was taking a pleasure in Chelsea's pain. And it was really, really childish. It was really, really immature. It's funny because Connor had called into my voicemail this week and had said pretty much the same thing. And also that it's sort of like makes you feel bad for Chelsea. How can you not feel bad for Chelsea? I mean, Gary had called into my voicemail too and had mentioned, that he was really feeling Chelsea in that moment. And I really, for the first time, I really felt bonded to Chelsea. And that I have not felt bonded to Chelsea. I'm thinking about it, and I wonder if some of my problem with Chelsea in the past was also compounded by the fact that I just didn't want her with Adam. I wanted Sharon with Adam at the time. I did not want Adam to move on with Chelsea, and so therefore it made me not like Chelsea. But here in this moment, I love an underdog. I can't stand to see anybody getting picked on, and I really felt like it's gone to that level. It's gone to this sort of schoolyard mean girl bullying scenario where Chloe is trying intentionally to hurt Chelsea, and that made me feel bonded to Chelsea. I just felt bad. I just really did. One other thing I don't want to forget to say was that, speaking of Bold and the Beautiful, Connor had come up with the idea in the voicemail that maybe Chloe will be making her way over to the Bold and the Beautiful. Since we know Elizabeth Heinrichsen is leaving the show, maybe she will end up eventually making that transition to B&B, which I think would be so great. I mean, she really would stand out on The Bold and the Beautiful, I think, a little bit more than on Y&R. Y&R's got a larger cast. Bold and the Beautiful is a little smaller, a little intimate. They tend to focus on just maybe 2 or 3 storylines at a time, and especially considering Forrester is fashion and Chloe is supposed to be fashion, I think that would be a really great match. I'd love to see that, because for now she is like on the cuckoo train in Genoa City, and it's really quite making me sad. I felt relieved, I guess, that Chelsea was able to somehow put that dress back together. I don't know if she completely reconstructed it or if she just kind of made it into a new dress, but she was certainly able to save face, and the show was able to go on with this big finale dress. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about the fashion show. I don't know if I was just looking for a little something more from the runway, but I just didn't love the actual fashion show. I mean, it seemed like there was so much drama going on behind the scenes, and it was wonderful. I mean, the cutting of the dress, that was very classic. I don't think I could have asked for anything better. I mean, as mad as I was that it happened, it was a good show. It made for good viewing. But the actual catwalk itself was so blah. I mean, first of all, I didn't see any clothes that I really liked. Chelsea's supposed to be some big, some super talented designer, and I didn't see anything that I was like, ooh, that looks good. I want to wear that. There was nothing. But I think even more than that, it felt like that whole snippet, that whole scene was just weirdly lit. It was too bright or something. Like, everybody's coming down the runway, including Abby and Lily, and the camera was, I guess, at the end of the runway, and it was, like, so bright, like it was overexposed or something. Like, they were shooting through those light bulbs at the end of the runway or something, and it was just, I couldn't see. So there were parts of it where I just couldn't see. And then there were other things that were so dark in contrast that I didn't really get a chance to really look at. I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I didn't love it. I did not love that part of it. But, whatever. The behind the scenes was good. And after the show, it's a smashing success, and everybody's so happy with Chelsea. And of course, it was going to end up being a triumph story. But the girls, Chloe and Chelsea, did end up talking after the show. I think it was up in the office, and they did finally, I think for the first time, actually be frank about how they were feeling. Chloe really revealed how she felt abandoned by Chelsea's relationship with Adam, and then to find out that he killed her daughter, and then Chelsea's talking about, exactly what I said last week. What we talked about last week was that, here she's going through something too, and she was really looking for her friend, and Chloe wasn't there for her. So it was nice to see them being open on the show. I do think that they had a good girl friendship, and Anna had called into my voicemail this past week and said, there are no good girlfriends on the show right now, and I think that's very true. It seems like there are a lot of rivalries right now, which I really like, but now that Chloe and Chelsea's relationship, even if it becomes repaired, we know Elizabeth Heinrichsen is leaving the show, so that is kaput. So it's just, I love the catfights. That's one of the things that keeps me compelled. It's classic soap, but mean, one of the things we haven't seen in a while is a good girlfriends. I have totally flipped my switch on Victoria and Stitch. Oh, I rhymed. I flipped my stitch on Victoria and Stitch. I should say that while I'm jump roping or something. Victoria and Stitch are scheduling their first date, and it's, I guess, supposed to be all cute, but I just don't know. I'm sort of not feeling it now. They're at the house together, and Stitch is being all cute, and Victoria's looking all broken and hopeful, and Victor stops by, sees Stitch there, knows exactly what's up. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. She's on the outs with her husband, and now all of a sudden another beefcakey guy is kind of hanging around his rich, eligible daughter. Victor's not stupid. He knows exactly what's going on. The one thing that did catch me off guard was the fact that Victor shows up at the hospital later to confront Stitch. He even says, "Oh no, Stitch said something like, did you come here looking for me?" And Victor's like, "Oh no, I just happened to be here at the hospital. I wasn't looking for you. Please." Why are you fronting, Victor? If you're going to go out of your way to talk to this guy, at least be real about it. But I don't know. I kind of liked it. I'm nervous about Stitch getting up involved in this whole situation. I don't think it's going to be good for anyone. It smacks of Rebound to me, and I don't think at the end of the day Victoria and Stitch are going to end up together. Jack did ultimately end up having to tell Billy that he saw Victoria and Stitch out at that restaurant and that they were kind of on a date. And then Billy comes back and fills in the rest of the scenario. He saw them together at his house too, so he's very well aware that his wife is dating another man, and she's all too happy to remind him of it. I just, at this point, am starting to feel leery of Stitch, and I don't know what it was that switched over. Well, okay, I think it might be two things. First of all, I am asking myself, as I said last week, why am I so interested in Victoria and Billy's relationship now when it's been probably a year of me not caring? And, well, duh, a recast happened. I really think as much as I liked Billy Miller and I enjoyed the courtship of Billy and Victoria, over time it just wore on me. And I have loved David Tom. I knew him from when he was originally on the show. The more and more I look at him, the more I like him a lot. And I think maybe that's the magic key for me here. I think maybe I am now feeling that chemistry renewed with Billy and Victoria because we've got David Tom back in the role. But also, something just happened for me with Stitch where I think Weiner's going to be pulling a switcheroo on us here. I think Stitch is not the good guy that we all want to assume he is. So maybe Kelly was right. Maybe she knows something that we don't know about Stitch that is truly terrible. I mean, if his wife and Kelly or both think it's terrible, maybe it's terrible. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have remorse over it, but whatever it is, it sounds bad. Now, Kelly and Jack are really getting close. I think they're getting closer than either one of them really are aware or want to admit. I thought it was interesting this week how Summer sensed that something was going on between Jack and Kelly at the fashion show. And Summer had, I think, this feeling of sort of jealousy that maybe Jack is moving on, or that maybe her mom isn't the one, Phyllis isn't the one that's there with him on his arm, and that he's now maybe starting to have his eye drift to a new woman, literally a new woman, a new actress even. So, new Kelly. It happened this week, the transition. Very curious to hear your first impressions. Couple of voicemails I got this week. Connor had mentioned that he really likes the new actress. She was some character on, I want to say As the World Turns. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. I never watched As the World Turns. I don't know this woman from Eve. I think her name's Katie something. So it's a totally, I have no preconceptions of her to get in the way, which I prefer, honestly. I'd rather have an actor that I don't know so that I'm not, projecting anything else onto them. And I had also gotten a voicemail from Gary who had kind of confirmed that and said the same thing, but was also giving his first impressions about the new Kelly. Well, I want to back up a second. Connor had mentioned he thought that there was a lot of chemistry between Billy and new Kelly now. I mean, they just had that short interaction, but he was feeling that he could kind of see that chemistry a little bit more. What Gary had mentioned is that it does seem like quite a difference in personality. I mean, where you recast Billy and it was a seamless transition. I mean, you could barely tell the difference. I mean, as far as the way the role was being played, everything seemed similar when you recast Billy. Kelly seems different, and what Gary mentioned that I liked and agreed with was that it seems like the new actress is playing this role with kind of sort of missing that wounded bird quality, that sort of walking open wound quality. The first impressions that I got from new Kelly were more that she seemed strong. Like, to me, it feels like a much different delivery. Like, there's not that vulnerability that we got with Cynthia Watros's portrayal. New Kelly seems to me to be very refined. She is, I guess, trying to warm up to Summer a little bit. She brings her a box of Belgian chocolates as a gift, which I almost can't see old Kelly going out of her way to buy Belgian chocolates. Maybe I'm just projecting or something at this point, but there is something of the way that the new Kelly holds herself that seems a little more maybe wealthy or rich or from money in some ways. The old Kelly seemed like she was a scrapper, like she probably came from the streets. This woman seems like she knows where to get Belgian chocolates. Now, going back to Connor's point, mentioning that he felt that there was a lot more chemistry between new Kelly and Billy, I don't know. It was too short of a scene, and of course, we can't make too many assumptions on having seen this woman with 5 minutes of screen time, but to me, I felt it was a little more weird to think of current Billy with new Kelly. The age difference seems a little more apparent to me now. I think that David Tom is right around my age. I think he's like 34. And the new Kelly, I think she's like 44. So we're there's a little bit more of an age difference. Now, Victoria is older than David Tom as Billy, too. But she's, I think, a little more in the middle, like maybe 42. But to me, I don't know. And not that it matters. I mean, good Lord, of course it doesn't matter. But it was a little, that was just, I'm purely going on my first impressions here. My first impression, I was like, well, gosh, I mean, that is something that sticks out to me that didn't stick out to me before. I think that the real chemistry test is going to be between Jack and new Kelly. But then again, I think with so many recasts happening in this foursome, plus Stitch, I think Y&R maybe was just deciding to throw all of the pieces up in the air, let them hang there for a little while, see what the fan reactions are before they go ahead and put the situation back together again. I'm really feeling Jill and Colin. They are full on sleeping together now. I mean, the relationship, the chemistry is bubbling over. These two are super seething with sexuality, but I really feel like there's an underlying love there too. I know that there are people who don't enjoy Colin, but I just really am, and he's bringing Jill back onto my screen, and that makes me happy. I got a voicemail from Gary who mentioned he's not a big fan of Colin and really wasn't feeling the whole music box thing. And I really do agree about that. The story for me has nothing to do with this music box, has nothing to do with this mystery. I believe it's all going to lead toward Catherine having a sister that they're going to bring onto the show, and maybe right now they're casting that or whatever. That's just my pulling that out of my butt 20-year winner of viewing. I guess that's just my prediction, but I don't care two hoots about that music box. I care about the relationship that's developing here, and I don't want to see anything break it. Jill and Colin are now fully giving over to the love that they're feeling. They were standing there in the living room this week renewing their vows, and I was totally in it like a sucker. I mean, if Colin is indeed pulling a big fast one, I'm in on it. Later in the week, Jill catches him on the phone telling some guy that, oh yes, believe me, my wife will lead us to Catherine's fortune. But he also, in the same breath, mentions, it's taken a little longer than I thought. I've had a substantial distraction, is what he calls it. A substantial distraction. He loves her too. I think apparently Colin entered into Genoa City or back into Genoa City with the intention of getting this money. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that he chloroformed her and tied her up and forced her to marry him. I mean, he had a little more going on, but through the course of getting to rediscover each other, I think he has found that he really does still love her. She overhears him on this phone call, and I swear, I thought she caught him. I thought she heard everything. I thought she was totally hip to whatever was going on, but the next thing you know, Lily and Kane show up, ding dong at the door, interrupt, and Lily is flaming. She's flipping out that Colin sent her flowers. I guess because of the fashion show, I zoned out about that part, but she's really mad. Like, how am I going to get you out of our lives? Well, last time I checked, Lily was being all thankful to Colin, sending the kids over to thank him for saving Kane's life. What changed? And so there's this big confrontation in the living room at the Chancellor estate, and Jill pretty much said to Lily and Kane what I just said. What happened here? I thought Colin was trying to make progress and making inroads toward, being a good father and a good grandfather. Why are you not giving him this chance? Why can't you give him the benefit of the doubt? And I really think that it was Jill that bridged that gap because Lily and Kane ended up kind of agreeing to introduce Colin to the kids, might as well, before they find out. We'll let him be involved in their life. So it was Jill who really smoothed that whole thing over. And looking at Colin's face during and afterward, I think that it was Jill's support in that moment that really also cut through him and made him feel guilty for that he's trying to pull a fast one or that he's not being entirely honest with her. And I'm wondering if eventually Colin will decide to just come clean with her and, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, please. Yes, I've been lying about this one thing, but I also still really love you. The only thing that just is still kind of weighing on my mind is, does Jill know? Did she overhear him on the phone? Is she wise to what's going on with him or not? Anna had called into my voicemail this week and said, that she knows someone who has just turned 50 and had a baby, and it's totally, totally possible. It's just not going to happen for Lauren right now anyway. Lauren is not pregnant. She never was. She goes to the hospital and they tell her it must have been a false positive. I knew it. I just knew it. In the second this all happened, there was just something in my mind that said it's just not true. They cannot be going down this road. I hope that they're not going down this road. Not that it's not possible, just that it's not interesting to me. But they tell Lauren, the doctor tells Lauren she's not pregnant. And it feels like a letdown for her and Michael. I mean, they weren't planning on having another child at this stage in their life or at all. And now that, in fact, Michael was, I think, a little bit more hesitant about the whole thing. I mean, they both had reservations. They both had fears, of course. I mean, I assume all parents have that fear, no matter what age that you are. You're worried that something's going to happen to the child or that you won't be able to take care of them, or there's any number of what-if factors. But now that they've found out that she's not pregnant, it seems that there's a level of disappointment, a little bit of a letdown. Not for me. I don't feel let down at all. In fact, I really would prefer it this way. I want Michael and Lauren to be happy. I want to see something a little bit different from them. But then again, there's Michael and Lauren are sitting there kind of mourning the fact that she's not pregnant, and I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know if she's going to end up having a medical problem or not. I assume she is, which I don't want to see that either. I just don't want to see any more sorrow from these guys. But they're sitting there mourning the fact that they're not having a baby, and they decide to seal the deal with sex. So I don't know. She may not be pregnant right now, but if anything's possible. Well, just as I talked about last week and the week before, I knew that this fashion show was going to include a moment where Hilary's walking around all beautiful and both Neil and Devon are staring at her with their tongues out. I mean, last week where we left off, Neil was locking lips with Hilary, and they got broken up the kiss got broken up. I think by the fight that Chloe and Chelsea were having, and Neil had to run off, and they really haven't had a whole lot of an excuse to talk about it. There was one other time where Neil comes back to Hilary and they have a private moment together, and they kind of almost kiss again. So I don't feel it. I don't feel this chemistry between these two, and I don't want it to happen at all. Something is just not right. Now, I got a good voicemail from Robin in Australia this week, who is starting to jog my brain into a different direction. Now, Robin says, could Hilary be doing the long con here? Is it possible that Lily is actually right? I think Y&R likes to lead us in one direction, and then the truth is actually a little switcheroo there. So I think a lot of people are thinking, ugh, Lily, you're being a little aggressive here with Hilary, but is it possible that she's right? Is it possible that Neil and Devon are being manipulated toward their own destruction here? I mean, it's certainly not outside of the realm of possibility that Hilary could just be twiddling her little thumbs, saying, I'm good girl, I'm changed, and really she's just trying to create a problem in that family, because Hilary is a problem for the Winters family right now. I mean, with Neil and Devon and Lily and Kane. So she is, in essence, kind of affecting the goal that she originally had, whether it's meaningful or not. So I don't know. You guys let me know. Has Hilary really changed, or are we getting conned here? Now, the other thing is just, I cannot believe this whole Leslie getting married thing. Leslie shows up to Avery's house this week to share her big news. And as soon as Leslie says, I got married, Avery is immediately assuming that it's Neil. Of course. I mean, on what planet would Leslie insist for weeks and weeks that she's in deep love with Neil, but just doesn't want to sign on the dotted line, and then she turns around and goes to Vegas and all of a sudden comes back and she's Mrs. Dr. Barton Shelby? Who the hell's that? I just don't know. One thing that I tell you is an interesting trend. Both Connor and Gary called into my voicemail this week and had mentioned what is going on with the fact that now Ian Ward is out of prison, just as Leslie's coming back and saying she's married. Now, I don't know if there could be a twist in there or if that's a stretch or what, but is there any chance on any realm of possibility that Ian has something in some way to do with this mystery man that Leslie is married to that for all the reading I have done, has not been cast onto the show? I love Ian. I love that he's back. He's the right kind of evil for me. I love it when he's off in a corner, just like weaselly sending a text message or just thinking, and he's got his smile on his face. I just love it. He goes to see Dylan this week. And, I mean, are you guys not noticing that it just seems like everybody is referring to Dylan's father now? It's all about Dylan's father. And it's clearly Paul. Like, it's going to end up being Paul. Ian's back in town because he wants to dangle this piece of information, probably to get himself some money. I mean, he's made contact with pretty much everybody at this point. First, he goes to Dylan, knows all of the right buttons to push. I mean, mentions Dylan's PTSD, mentioned the fact that he knows that Dylan kidnapped Connor, and he's really trying to do this whole, like, maybe I can help you sort of thing. Really he's just trying to get money at the end of the day, I think. And I think he also enjoys he's sick. I think he enjoys screwing with people, which I like. He's a good villain. Ian ends up showing up at Paul's office and at the police station to tell him that his hotel room has been trashed. Well, who did that? Somebody went in there and intentionally trashed his stuff. And I don't know, there's a pretty short list of people that it could be. Paul says, look, it wasn't me. It wasn't the GCPD. If we decided we wanted to send you a message, you would have known it. But Paul thinks maybe it was Dylan. And calls Dylan into his office, calls his son into his office to scold him, and says, if it was you, I think you did this. I think you went and you trashed his hotel room, and if it was you, just don't do it. I don't know. Even just from later in the week, Dylan told Avery about the fact that Ian's hotel room was trashed, and he sort of sounded like maybe he knew about it, but I don't know. I don't know if I missed it, if I missed something, but I don't know. Part of me thinks it probably wasn't Dylan. It was probably Victor. I mean, Victor undoubtedly has been following the case of this Ian Ward. This man is a threat to Nikki, so he's going to keep on top of what's going on with him. So I think he knew Ian got out of jail, and he probably wanted to send him this message. It didn't take long. I mean, Ian gets out of jail. He makes a beeline right back for Genoa City. And he sends Nikki a text message, which I don't know what it said, but I think it was like, meet me in the park or something, because Ian's in the park waiting on somebody, and he turns around and says, I've been waiting for you. And it's not who he was expecting. It was Victor. Victor's not having it. He's not, he must have intercepted the text message that Ian sent to Nikki, and Victor meets Ian and tells him to just back the hell off. I love it. I love Victor versus Ian. It's going to be so good. It's going to be epic. Keep Ian around. He's just the right kind of villain for me. On a lighter note, I love Avery's cooking show. I never did before. When she was with Nick and they were doing the whole cooking thing, it was not as compelling. I don't know what it is, but now I love it. I love her and Dylan. They really, really work for me. I like her and Dylan way more than I liked her and Nick. I like seeing her prepare to do this cooking show pilot, and she's a klutz all over the kitchen, like dipping her sleeve in a big thing of whipped cream. I mean, it's insane how klutzy she is. The guys come in to film the cooking show, and she's a wreck. I mean, the camera goes on, and she's like a deer in the headlights. She cracks an egg and it's everywhere. She knocks over some utensils and it's painful. It's painfully awkward. But I loved that one of the cameramen was kind of a fan of her work, and they do a second take. He gives her a little pep talk in between, and she just feels it. She just turns on, and she just turns around, has confidence in herself, and she just dominates that cooking show. Abby and Tyler are having an engagement party at the ranch, and Well, first of all, I don't understand the whole Mariah thing. Tyler makes a call. I don't get it. He and Abby, again, for like the million, hundredth, billionth, blah, illionth time, they have this talk where are we really sure we want to get married? Should we? I mean, there is so much doubt between these two. I don't know how this relationship is going to last. I mean, don't you know when you meet your mate? I mean, if you got to ask that many times, are we sure about this? Maybe you shouldn't go through with it. But they have another, should we? I don't know. Well, yes, okay, we really do love each other. And then Tyler makes a phone call to Mariah saying he needs to meet with her. I don't know, what for? What for? How many times does he have to tell her to stay away? I mean, what else could he possibly... And she hasn't really even been on the scene in a couple of weeks. She hasn't been messing with him. So what could you possibly have to say to her at this point on the eve of your engagement party? Well, the engagement party opens up, and later in the evening, by the way, there's someone looking through the windows who I could have sworn it was going to be Mariah. It didn't turn out to be that, and we'll talk about that later. But, I mean, what is up with the Mariah factor? Is she ever going to be cast? Is she ever going to do anything except, I mean, you know she's going to end up sabotaging the wedding. Are they just doomed to fail? Are Abby and Tyler just doomed to fail? I don't know. But what I do know, on a positive note, is that at the engagement party, they both looked gorgeous. They do make a good-looking couple. I particularly loved Abby's pink dress. It was like baby pink or like rosy pink with this diamondy collar. It was gorgeous. She looked great. I laughed when Gary left a voicemail for me saying, hey, you got to give Abby compliments where you can get them. She did look good in the dress. And Tyler looked good standing next to her. So they are a handsome, handsome couple. I was happy to see that Ashley arrived for her daughter's engagement party. Yay! I love my Ashley. Really looking forward to seeing more of her next week, especially since she's going to have a run-in with Stitch and realize that he's dating Victoria. Ooh, that's going to be good. I want to see Ashley put some smack down, or maybe get to the bottom of what's going on with Stitch. The guest list was all of the usual suspects. Nick and Sharon, by the way, debuted their renewed relationship there. Victor was fine with it, actually. He said Nick could bring Sharon to the party, and so Nick did, and Sharon did look great in her fiery red dress in April. Gary had mentioned that too in his voicemail, and I was like, that's right. I wonder if Y&R was trying to send us a message here. Sharon burned down the last ranch. Now here she is at a spring affair in her fiery red dress. Hey, there was an extended view of the ranch this week. Did you notice that? Normally we see a close-up of the house, but we saw it from a distance, like going up a pathway, which helped. I appreciated that. A little bit more, expanding the scene in my mind a little bit more. Now, the other guests at the party were, of course, hangdog Billy Abbott with his sad, sad face and barely holding it together, Victoria, as Ashley is giving this toast to Abby and Tyler, talking about, hold on to your relationship, make it work, fight for it. Victoria runs out of the room and Billy runs after her. They're out, I guess, presumably sort of in the yard or the parking lot or something. And she's so distressed that, she says, I felt like they were talking about me, or that Ashley was talking about me. I couldn't help thinking about our relationship. So Billy just grabs her and kisses her. And I thought it was great. I thought she kissed back. Let's be real. She did kiss back. She didn't push him away. It was a kiss, but, I think they both sort of it seemed mutual to me. But she ended up leaving him. I can't do this. And she runs away. He follows her back to the house. And I thought maybe they were going to get back together, but no, she's in her outfit for the party. And she says, you know what? Why don't you wait here? I have something to show you. Just stay here. And he's like, all right. She comes back downstairs with her clothes changed. Nothing on her hands, just clothes changed. And Billy's like, is this what you wanted to show me? And she says yes. And again, he's like, cool, we're getting back together. Let's go out. And she reveals, no, I just wanted to show you the dress that I'm going to be wearing when I go out on my date with Stitch later. Well, why? I mean, she said something like, I just thought seeing me like this might help make it real for you. It seemed particularly cruel. But she did also say something to him to the effect of, you know, I don't want to get back together with you because I know you're just going to hurt me again. So I think that was very telling. Victoria, she is in love with Billy. Love is not the question here. She's tired of being hurt from him and hurt by him, and I do understand it. But at the end of the day, I just keep seeing two people that share a family and still very much love each other. Well, my final note here is we got to talk about that rock and roll lovemaking scene that Sharon and Nick had. There was this hot rock music playing over them, just going at it. I mean, clothes strewn all over the place, lamp getting knocked off of the nightstand, Nick tossing Sharon onto the bed, holding her arms down, and just going at it. It was hot. I mean, thank you, YNR. Thank you for giving us last week slow and sensual, and this week hot and hard. Oh, man. I mean, look, since 1994, Nick and Sharon have never had a problem with hot romance. Hot romance has always been the strong point of their relationship. I mean, they've had fidelity issues, they've had problems connecting and communicating, but sex has always been their forte. So I thought it was wonderful. I, of course, really enjoyed it. Now, the interesting little development here was that the shadowy figure looking in through the window at Tyler's and Abby's engagement party was not Mariah. Oh no, it was Cassie. Faux Cassie. She's got a vested interest here. I don't know what on earth would possess her to go peeking around through the windows. I mean, is she really that interested in what's going on with Nick and Sharon? I mean, is she that guilty about what she did to Sharon? I mean, enough to go peeking through the windows? It seemed a little unnecessary to me. But Nick goes outside and sees someone peeking in the windows, and she turns around to reveal her face, and Nick was like, oh my gosh. I mean, the look on his face was like, I don't know if he's going to think he's going crazy or what. But the previews for next week's show, I guess Monday's show, have him, I don't know if he like grabs this Cassie, like reaches out, grabs her, and like puts her in a little room all by herself and starts to question her. But he does. He grabs her and he's saying, and I'm assuming she's protesting that she knows him, or I don't know, whatever. He's holding up some pictures of her and saying, probably, I'm assuming, look, you look exactly like my dead daughter. Are you going to try to tell me that that's a coincidence? And I mean, I'm glad that he's confronting her, but I mean, the next step here is that the truth will come out that Victor's the one who hired her. Okay, friends. My YNR friends, that is just about it for me for this week. I gotta go deal with the family now. My other family. Not you. Not you guys, and not the YNR family. Not Genoa City family. The other world family. I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's show and this sort of short and audio-only version of the YNR chat. I wanted to make sure I got my thoughts out. I hope that it's good enough. I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you listening. I hope that you have a good week next week. Oh, feel free to give me a call, 309-588-4569. You can leave me a voicemail. You can also go to my website at irchat.com. If you want to get a hold of me and let me know what you guys are thinking about all of this